Hi, my name's Sam Winston. I'm the author of One and Everything. In the development of the book, doing the research into some of the other scripts that we were using, out of the 6,000 to 7,000 languages in the world, I think half of the world's population speaks 25. So that means that you've got, 7 or 8 billion people on the planet, and roughly half of them speak 25 languages. But then that leaves roughly, 6,000, 6,500 more languages that are spoken by much smaller minorities. And I was wondering about why that was, and I was also thinking about where these languages come from. And the reason for a picture book I had to use scripts, but actually a lot of these languages don't even have scripts. They don't have a written form at all. They're spoken dialects. And the choice of languages was through, I wanted some scripts that were endangered, so in danger of going out and raising kind of like awareness to that. I wanted some scripts that basically are extinct and we don't know the meaning of them anymore. And I wanted some scripts that were new and just coming into being. And I just thought, trying to chart that shoreline of language where, this is something that we don't know anymore. What does that mean about those cultures that aren't here anymore from thousands of years ago? This is something that needs celebrating and preserving. And then this is something that's just being born, like human lives, I guess. So some of the characters in the book, we have obviously the one who is this very sort of like voluptuous, greedy, sensuous, full story that eats all the other stories. And then some of the old story in One and Everything that gets eaten is called the Phaistos disc. And the Phaistos disc was found in Crete, and it's thousands of years old, and no one's entirely sure what it means. And I love the idea that it does mean something, but we can only speculate about what it means. And we also don't even know whether it's a language with an alphabet, or whether it's pictorial and it's just signs that are to be read. So it's really like a very, very great example of humans having an attempt at communicating. And now we don't know the rules by which they made it, which I think is beautiful and mysterious. And then we've got Adlam. So Adlam's a new alphabet, and it was invented by two brothers. And I just love I think it's the late 80s. And I just love the fact that there was these, at the time they were children, and they could speak the dialect, but they couldn't, there was no written form for it. And this was the time when like mobile communication, screen communication was like really increasing. And they were like, well, if it's not got a written form, then it doesn't appear, you can't text with it and you can't write emails with it. So they basically went, we're going to start, this is what this letter form, this is what this sound like, this is what this letter form's like. And they basically invented their own alphabet. And their father was like, are you sure? And then he called in an expert and they went, yeah, that's an alphabet. And then they ran with it. And now it's this thing that's like, thousands of people use it. And it's kind of like, it's not a revival, but they created this form. And I think that's what's at the heart of, that's what's so beautiful about letter forms, is that someone somewhere has to go, well, this is what this sound is, and this is what this sound might look like. And we forget that. We forget that the 26 letters of the alphabet originate from someone just getting something that makes a mark and sticking it in something that receives a mark. That's what we use, which is crazy. I think with the advent of such amazing communication tools, it's getting incredibly easy to streamline communication. We can get very short and we can get one dialect and we can get very concise. And in that streamlining, we might lose something. So what I think is so important about, world languages is that they make you think differently. They make your they literally make your brain behave in a different way. You know, the cliche, but with some truth, is like, you know, the Inuit have many, many different words for snow, and you have all of these kind of examples where, you know, you realize that the one word you use is a very limited understanding of a landscape that's much richer in a different language. And that's true for all languages. And I'm not just speaking written languages. You could be visual languages, or even the language of code, or the language of algebra. They're lenses by which we can shape the brain to learn. And yeah, it's so vitally important. One of the things that I think from my reading around this subject is that the rate of extinction of not just animals, but the rate of extinction of languages is even at a faster rate than the extinction of animals. So we talk about biodiversity loss. What is the cultural equivalent of this biodiversity loss? Like linguistic diversity loss. And that means that we're shutting down ways that we can think, which is, you know, it's both heartbreaking. And I think for some people, their role is in preservation of those languages, which is beautiful. And then for others, which is more of the creative role, is celebrating both those languages and the invention of new languages, because that opens up the doors again.